Confidence isn't the absence of pain. It's the choice to rise with your scars, whether they're inside or out. Today's conversation will challenge how you see beauty, confidence, and visibility. My guest is Sylvia MacGregor, a burn survivor, body equality activist, and founder of Love Disfigure. She has transformed pain into purpose, leading a movement that inspires thousands while still living with the daily reality of pain. By the end of this episode, you'll know how to quiet your inner critic, embrace the differences that make you extraordinary, and step into confidence no matter what you've faced or what you see in the mirror. This isn't just inspiring, it's liberating. Let's get straight in. I know a lot of your story, but many people don't. And it is a story that I think will make people stop in their tracks when they understand what your remarkable story is. Because to look at you sitting here today, people will say, okay, she looks great. What I would like you to do is set the scene for those people listening and watching, and take us back to your very early childhood, because of course that's where the major life event happened. But can you set the scene of your household, what it looked like, brothers and sisters, mum and dad? What was a busy life like for you? Bring us to the point that the remarkable event happened.
Yes.
And then we'll talk about it, if that's okay with you, and go into as much detail as you feel you're able to, because in order for our listeners to come on this journey with you, it's quite important that you set that scene. So over to you, Sylvia. Please tell us your remarkable story.
Okay. So first of all, we were living in Stepney in East London, so not far from the Bow Bells, so we're Cockneys. And I'm the youngest of 5 girls. My dad was a delivery driver back then, and my mum was a cleaner. She used to clean in the London Hospital, which is now the Royal London Hospital, which was only probably about a 15-minute walk up the road from where we lived. We lived in these block of flats, and you can imagine there were 7 of us. And as far as I remember, there was probably about 3 bedrooms. So it was very tight. You know, we did struggle with money. But I do remember my mum was very good. She's very creative. So she'd make dresses from curtains and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was so creative, and she was such a hard worker. She's so hard working. Sometimes she used to go like all day and all night, working in the hospital. And even my dad, he was very hard working. They were both from different backgrounds. So my dad was brought up very well, and my mum was brought up very well as well. But just that she had, I think there was like about 21 in her family.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so she had like stepbrothers and stepsisters, and she was the youngest. So when her mum and dad passed, they were going to put her into a home, but she ended up living with her eldest sister, which was in Poplar up the road from Stepney. So yeah, eventually she met my dad, who she was working in the factory, and they got married and had the 5 of us. We was living in Stepney, and then one day with me and my sister Sheila's probably about a couple of years older than me. We were playing a game of hide and seek, which was great because we used to like hide in cupboards and everywhere under beds. And I told her I wanted to hide that day, and I don't remember this, but my mum had clearly stated, do not go into the bathroom because there's danger in there. You don't go into the bathroom. And she meant that there was boiling water in a bowl on the floor, which she'd just boiled on the hob. So you can imagine it was at boiling point. And I don't know this, and being the youngest, and I was only 2.5 years old. So I guess in my head, I was thinking, a fantastic place to hide, to go in the bathroom. I hid behind the door, and my sister, obviously, she found me, but she pushed the door, and I went flying back into the bowl of boiling water. And and then it was just pure devastation from there because, I can imagine my family, my mum, what she was having to go through, trying to run cold water on me while my back was basically peeling away.
Can I ask you a question? So, because in my head, even though we've talked about this a lot, I thought you were walking into your kitchen and picked up a pan, but you're in the bathroom. So therefore, give us a description. Was it like a plastic bowl, like what thing you have in your sink? Was it that kind of bowl?
Well, it's really hard to say because I don't really know. And as much as I talk and I've spoken to my mum in the past, it's sometimes hard to get details like that. So I don't really know what it was. From what I know, it was a bowl of boiling water, according to my sisters. And it's hard to ask my mum these days because obviously she's like quite old and I don't want to like bring all that up again. Everything that I'm bringing up now today, I bring up with a psychologist. So you might get some tears today.
This is a safe space.
Yeah, of course. And it's good that we go over the past because obviously I was so young and I don't really know what happened to me. And then after that, it was just downhill. Not straight away, but probably into secondary school, it was downhill all the way.
So just take us back to that moment. So you're obviously your parents, and something that we should be really clear here, that I get the impression your household was one of love. You were all loved. It was a good household. It was you had a good family. You were all loved and cared for. So none of this has got anything to do with neglect.
No,
This is purely a freak accident. So
yeah.
we're talking about in the 1970s.
1971. Yeah, yeah.
1971. So falling into this bowl of boiling water. And of course, the first thing any of us would do is try to cool that down as soon as possible. So your family would have been frantic. And at some point, you were taken to hospital.
Yeah, so obviously the ambulance arrived, and according to my mum, they wrapped me in, I think, some kind of foil or cling film because they have to keep the body temperature, I guess, the same so that, nothing, I don't end up fitting and things like that. So from there, they took me to the London hospital, but my dad had come with me and my mum had to stay home and look after the children, which could you imagine how unbearable that was for her?
Unbearable.
And when we was at the hospital, the consultant, the London hospital at the time did not treat burns.
Wow.
Yeah, days they do. But a consultant come in and he said, "I'm really sorry, but I don't think she's going to survive." And my dad was a Catholic man. He was brought up like in a Catholic household, and he said, "Look, can we have a priest come here?" And they said, yeah, we can do that. And he said, I need to talk to my wife. So he called my mum. He told my mum that I wasn't going to survive.
Poor
And
mum.
yeah, and then the priest come in. And what the priest did was my dad asked for the priest to baptise me as well as give me my last rites. So imagine 2.5 years old, had a really bad injury, dying. It was awful. And I can imagine it was really awful for both
How
parents.
devastating.
Yeah, yeah. And to get that news as well. And then after that, after I'd been baptized and given my last rites, apparently another consultant come in and said, look, we've got time, possibly. Let's try and blue light her all the way to Mount Vernon Hospital in Northwood Hills. Yeah.
Okay. Because they had a burns unit.
Yes, a really good burns unit for children and adults because they used to take people from war times and, it was like a pre-war hospital. And I remember I don't particularly like it because it was so old. And they had like all these long corridors. I just hated it.
But that's what you remember at 2.5 years old, though, isn't it?
So they just took over, put me on life support. And then eventually my mum got to the hospital. I don't know if she brought the children or whether, because I know that she had sister-in-law lived nearby, so she might have looked after the children. And again, they were told that I wasn't going to survive. And it was like, I can imagine it was really difficult for them. And then I pulled through, and it must have been about a few days, 3-4 days later, I pulled through. And they were like, okay, we could take her off life support, and from that moment they decided to turn me over because they hadn't turned me, so I was always laid back. Yeah,
You were
so
lying on the injury.
yeah, but it was a special bed. Yeah, so I wouldn't have been actually laying on it. It would have been like an open, it's kind of like maybe like a big spongy owl. And as they turned me, my mum, she just screamed out because all she could see was like a big hole in my back. And because you could imagine, like, if you pour boiling water like onto something like a plastic bag or something, and then it just all sort of like implodes. So it was a bit like I ended up with this big hole. And the nurse said to my mum, "Don't do that, because she's gonna, yeah, you worry, and you need to support as much as you can." And obviously my mum's so supportive and caring and loving. She's just a lovely woman.
But that was an instant reaction, wasn't it?
Yeah, instant reaction, because she had no idea how bad it had got from when she'd seen it to like onwards, because it continues to burn. So it was
Yes.
continuing to burn. And then, yeah, so I come off of life support. Then I caught pneumonia, went back on life support, and they told my family again, she's not going to live. Because I'm so young as well. And I
Yes.
can
Two and a
imagine,
half.
yeah, it's such a young age.
When you think both of us have got children, and as a mother, you can take yourself back to those early days, can't you? Easily, however old your children are. You can take yourself back to 2.5 and how every moment is glorious, but you're always worried about the thing. You're trying to teach these children to not be in danger. And yet that was frozen in time for your mum through a freak
Yeah,
accident. I can only feel total empathy for her.
yeah, yeah. It must have been really bad. Yes. Yeah, so again, they took me off life support. I got better. They took me off. And then I ended up on it again, like for a third time. And for a third time, they told my family that I won't survive. And I did, because I'm still here today.
Yes, exactly. And that's why it's remarkable. But is
Yeah.
this days now or weeks?
Weeks, yeah. So, yeah, it seemed probably more like months, to be fair. And then I remember having, gosh, skin grafts. And skin grafts are the worst thing ever. I don't know
Well,
about
tell me
these.
now, just set the scene now. So
Yeah.
you've gone home.
Yes. No, I didn't go home. I stayed at the hospital.
So you didn't ever go home.
No,
Now
I
it's
was at the hospital for a very long time.
so
Yeah.
now you're weeks on and they're having to think about
Yeah.
grafting skin from
Yeah.
somewhere else in your little body.
But what was really difficult was my family leaving me, and I had to then, in my head, imagine that the nurses were like my second mums, and the hospital was like my second home. So I had to kind of like tell myself that. Uh,
Yeah.
and so it was really difficult not having, like nowadays, if a child has an injury, their families can come and stay with them. They have places to stay, or they can stay next to them in the hospital. But back then, there wasn't that. And obviously, like, we lived over the other side of London. We lived in East London, and then coming over to Northwood Hills, it was such a
Yes.
travel on the train. They was constantly back and forth every single day to see me. And my mum used to leave me her purse just so that I'd stop crying and say, "I'll be back." Yeah. But then I'd open the purse and there was nothing in it. And I'd be like, "She's not coming."
How sad.
And then obviously I started to have skin grafts, and what they did was, so my scars are on my back, my tummy, my sides, my leg. And what they did, they found every place on my body, my arms, my legs, the top of my feet, my bottom, everywhere where there's like fresh skin apart from my chest, they'd take skin and they used to freeze it. They'd freeze it and then they'd wrap me up in like bandages, and then when they were ready to pull it onto my back, then take me to surgery and put the fresh skin off my arms and my legs onto my back. They'd layer it on.
But I have another question. So
Yes,
many questions.
yes,
When they were taking your skin, you
yeah.
were 2.5 years old.
It was the
It's
worst
not like
of my
there's
life.
lots of skin. Were you put under? Were you given an anesthetic?
Yeah, but uh, every day they would come and unwrap these wounds, and it was the worst thing ever. I can honestly, I just remember it and seeing the nurse come round. I didn't want them to take the bandages off. And then the worst thing was whether the skin would take on the back, on the burns, and sometimes taking the bandages off, sometimes you'd get like different types of not septic, but sometimes it would
It
go,
would be pussy.
yeah, like pussy and stuff, and then they'd have to put you on antibiotics, and then they'd have to treat it, then wrap it, and it was just a constant wrapping, unwrapping, and it until it started to heal, and that was horrible. That was so difficult, you
For a
know.
little girl.
Yeah, it was really hard, really, really hard. And I remember one day I was actually wrapped in bandages from my neck, down my arms, my whole of my body, all the way down my legs to my ankles. I was like a
A
mummy.
mummy.
And I remember like trying to get to the toilet, like walking like a mummy, trying to get to the toilet, and then having an accident by the time I got there. So
Well,
it
inevitable.
was horrible. Yeah, it was horrible,
And timescales now, we're talking months now.
months, yeah, months.
Time of year was your accident?
January 71.
You're now edging probably into spring and summer.
Yes, yeah. And then when I finally did get back home, I was still going back and forth to the hospital regularly.
I mean, that in itself cost your parents, obviously the money's the money, but for people who are working hard and not well off, just the cost of going on the train and the time, it's just huge, isn't it?
Yeah. And also going to the hospital. So a lot of the children would have injuries on their arms where they pull kettle cords and irons and pots like be over their chest, their faces, fires. And obviously my injury was on my back, so it couldn't be seen. And when I used to sit in the children's outpatients and all the other children are sitting around, I can see everyone's scars, but not my own. And I remember they all used to just be, what I could see was all of these children staring at me. I felt uncomfortable.
Yes. Like, what are you doing here?
A bit like imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
what am I doing here? I'm not like them. Look at them. They're much worse than me. And that's what I always had in my head, that everyone was much worse than me. However, I was struggling with pain. I was struggling with confidence and all of those things. And so that was really difficult. And all I ever really wanted was for them to speak to me. All I ever wanted was a friend, someone with scars to sit and talk with me. And that never happened.
Well, that's so sad because now, today, that would be encouraged, wouldn't it, to talk
Yeah,
to the other
100%.
children? But there was not that environment. And for you as a little girl, how could you say, "Excuse me, I'll turn around and show you"? You wouldn't, would you?
You
Because
wouldn't,
it's
no,
just
no,
not what
no.
you would do when you're little.
Yeah. And do you know what? As I got older, sort of like into my 20s, I know I'm jumping ahead a bit, but I'm going to come back. I actually used to wish for the scars to be on my face.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Visible.
Yeah. And I feel sad and angry that I felt like that. I really do, because I've got friends that have scarring all over their face and
Yeah.
bodies, and I feel really sad that I thought like that, and I should never have. But at the same time, it's because I struggled with people knowing or not knowing. That was really difficult.
Yeah. But now, today, we talk about invisible disability, don't we? But that wasn't a thing then. So it's totally, you can't chastise yourself for feeling like that,
No.
because that was just an emotional stage you were going through, because your scars, like I said, when people watch this, they'll say, but she looks great. And because she's worth it. But the thing is, your scars are, I'll say this from talking to you and being with you, they're really, really quite extensive, and they subject you to a huge amount of pain. And
Yeah.
you are, from what I see, working on them all the time. And you'll tell this story later, but all the time. That's what I see.
Yeah.
Trying to
Yeah.
stretch them, ease them. People don't have any idea what you're going through, which is what I want you to tell them. So
Yeah.
let's go back
Yeah,
to you. You
go
go
back.
home. This is
Um,
months later. You start school.
yes, but before that, I continue to go to the hospital, and one of the things that I don't want to leave out, and I should talk about it because it's really important, and
Please.
is that because my scars were on my back, and there weren't many children that had injuries to their back, the consultants decided that I would see student nurses or student doctors, you know, the ones in the white coats. And every time we went to the hospital, I'd have to go into this room, undress, completely naked, by the way, stand up on a bed, and they'd turn me around just to look at my back. It was the most embarrassing thing ever.
How old were you now? Three and
I
a
was,
half,
no,
4.
so, no, I was much older. I was probably about 8.
Oh, how awful.
Yeah, really, really awful at that age because obviously, like, I'm then like feeling like, you know, battling in my head what is going on here.
Yeah.
But luckily, whenever I felt down about it, because I used to say to my mum, I don't want to go there no more. Then one day I said to her, I don't want to go there no more. And she said, you don't have to see these. I'm going to make sure the consultant, like, you don't have to go in there
Good
anymore.
for her.
She stopped that from happening. And that won't happen these days. Even speaking to my psychologist, she works in the hospital with burns victims, survivors. And she said to me, like, that was the worst thing that could ever happen to you. Like that would never happen these
No.
days. However, I used to have nightmares of student doctors. Like, I used to see men and women in white coats all the way around the top of my room, in
How
my bedroom.
sad.
And I'd wake up and I'd still see them. I'd be screaming. I was bedwetting right up
Oh,
to the age of like 16, which was all to do with the trauma, apparently, according to, yeah, my psychologist. And the pain and obviously the tightness was so bad that I had to keep on having surgery after surgery after surgery. So it was a constant releasing, skin grafts, and even right up to today, like, I'm still having all of that done. Yeah,
just
primary.
talk to people about what you mean when you say releasing, because people won't have any idea.
No. So some people look at my scars now and they go, wow, it's a lovely colour. It's the same colour as your skin. Like, you can hardly see it at times, which I'm like, great. Yeah, that's great. I know. But I still nowadays want it to be visible because I want to be like, hey, look at my scars. This is my fight for survival. Like, this is what
Yeah.
I fought. But yeah, so the tightness and all the stretching and all of that. So underneath, the scarring underneath the skin that you don't see, unless if I like move to the side and then I can point it out. I'll do a video like on Instagram so I can show everyone, because it is something that I don't share that much. But they're called contractures and they're tight scarring. So one of the biggest surgeries that I had, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago, they actually went in and cut right the way across my lower back. So I've got like an opening in my lower back, and it was to go through the skin layers, dermis, epidermis, and to release the scars. But then the doctor come up to me, and I thought that I'd had just a little surgery because I got out of bed. I was walking around, and everyone was like, "Wow, look at her! She's amazing!" And then the consultant come up and he said, I just need to tell you that we had to go further through the skin layers. We had to cut through the fat layers to get to the tight scars. And some of it we couldn't even reach because it's that deep. Because it's like entangled in muscle and your tendons and everything underneath. I've got dead nerves. I've got no feeling in
I
parts of
have
my
another question.
sweat
What
glands. Yeah,
degree what degree burns did you have then?
third and fourth degree. Yeah, it was that.
All the way through.
Yeah, all the way through. Like I said, it big hole in my back from the boiling water. So it was a pretty bad injury. Yeah. And then Primary school.
Yes. Excuse me.
Well, it wasn't that bad, really. Secondary school was probably the worst. But um, when I went to primary school, they used to put me in the nursery. So when I come back from the hospital, I used to spend the rest of the day sleeping on the nursery beds. So I didn't spend much time with my own age groups, which was difficult for me. And then when in the last year, I think it was year 6 of primary school, I tried to make friends, but everyone had their own friends. It was quite
Yes, by then.
the boys used to tease me, not about my scars, they used to tease me about my name, MacGregor, to playing the bagpipes. And I had 2 long plaits and they used to like chase me around the place.
But in all of this time, though, from when you start at preschool to all the way through those early years, you're suffering with acute pain. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I do. But the way that I see it was that, listen, like my father, like I said, he was a really strong character, very strict. He was brought up quite hard and but extremely well
Good
educated.
family values.
I remember his writing. He used to have perfect writing. I loved it. And he said one day, and it stuck in my head, there's people worse off than you, right? Not meaning just me, telling all of us. There are people in the world worse off than you are, than we are. You know, any struggles that you have, you should just think about those other people, which I think led me to today, the way that I think about others, which is kind of like a good thing. But then speaking with my psychologist again, she's like, probably didn't help your dad saying that because really, you matter too. Like, it's not just other people. So that's how I got through with pain. I used to think there's worse people off than me. If I see like a little boy in a wheelchair, I think, well, he's worse off than me. She's worse, so I'd always like make sure that I was like at the bottom of the pile, basically. I never,
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a juxtaposition, isn't it? Because, yes, in many ways, as a young child, no doubt that helped you think more than just about what you were going through. But of course, psychology will tell us that, in fact, you also needed to be told that it was all about you. But I think you were also loved and cherished. So you had safety in your home. And that probably made up for that, didn't it? Because you
yeah.
were beloved by all. And I'm thinking of your sister, Sheila. And how did she feel? Because she was the one who opened the door.
I don't think she cared back then, like,
No.
it's like me and her, sometimes I say to her, even now, like, because we're really close, and I would say to her, we're like twins, aren't we? Like, we used to do so much together. We used to fundraise, we used to wash people's cars. Like, my dad used to send us out and say, go and do this. If you want money, you go and wash someone's car, you fundraise, you do a walk, a run, a swim. So we used to do that kind of stuff. And she used to tease me. She'd be horrible to me. But I thought it was okay because it was her and
Yes.
she was like my comfort blanket. We shared the same bedroom. So she knew a lot of the stuff that I was going through.
Yeah. I was thinking of her and the fact that she opened the door and
Yeah.
that action
Today
meant that you,
today she doesn't like the fact that she had a part to play in that and
but
she
she shouldn't hold anything though. It was a pure accident, wasn't it?
yeah, and I've told her like I don't like I've never blamed her. Like
No.
ever blamed her. We were just children and we were
Yeah.
just playing, and I would never do that. And as you know, she's a firefighter now, and a lot of
Yeah.
people think she'd become a firefighter because of what happened to me, but she didn't. She wanted to be a policewoman, but she ended up being a firefighter. And
Awesome. I have met her and I think she's outstanding. And I was only thinking that I hope she carries no angst because she shouldn't.
no,
She shouldn't. You were kids, you were playing, accidents happen. It just happened to be that this accident was catastrophic for you.
yeah,
And so you got through primary school reasonably well. And
yeah,
primary school for most children is probably okay. But some of the difficult things can happen, more difficult things can happen as kids go into secondary school.
Yeah. So when I
Talk to
started,
us about that.
yeah, secondary school was difficult, and in fact, the very first day was like probably one of the worst days for me.
No.
I took my PE kit because they said not going to do very much on the first day, probably just do PE. And the PE teacher, she really wasn't a nice teacher. I'm not like, I don't want to be horrible about her, but she wasn't. And nobody really liked her, like ever liked her. And she said, right, we're going to play hockey. Everyone get changed. I was like, oh, great. Yay, hockey. Goes out and we're playing hockey. And then we come back in and she's like, right, everyone get changed. You're going to have a shower. So, oh, no, I'm sorry, I can't shower because get in the shower now, go and get changed. And I remember standing in the changing room, just watching everyone get changed around me. I felt so uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
it was hard. And eventually, like, I managed to, take everything off and had this towel around me. And it wasn't even my towel; it was a towel that she gave me because my mum had said you would never have to shower at school because she had spoken to the headmistress. But this teacher would not allow me to speak and say that the headmistress knows that I don't need to shower. So anyway, we're all lining up with our towels around us. And as I get to the front, she just pulls my towel off me and pushes me into the shower.
Well, how awful.
Yeah, it was so
She
bad.
should be ashamed of herself.
Yeah, well, she's not no longer a teacher, and I don't know if she's still alive or still around. um, but yeah, that was like really bad, really really bad. And when I went home, my mum come up the next day and spoke to the headmistress, and I never had to shower again. In fact, I don't even have to do PE if I don't want to do it. But I wanted to, like, I wanted to get
Yes.
involved as much as I could because primary school, I couldn't get involved. Like, I just didn't make any real friendships in primary school, and a lot of those children carried through into the same secondary school. So yeah, that was difficult. And then after that, I found it a bit difficult to make friends, and then eventually, like, I found a friend group that I thought were really nice, but I still struggled. Like, every day was a struggle. I struggled with the pain. I had particularly really bad pain across my tummy because I used to have like a thick scar. It was about that thick, and it used to run like a belt across my tummy, and it was tight, really tight. It used to pull my tummy right in. And you can still see it today, a bit of it, because I've got like an overlap of like
And what
skin.
was that for? Explain that. So it was to keep, what was it there for?
No, it was a scar. It was an actual scar, a deep, thick scar that would run across the front of my tummy. I think it's where the water
Wow.
drowned. And I was due to have it released. But while I was at school, every time I ate, because I was so skinny, I used to eat like a little bit of food and then I'd sit on the bench and hold my tummy. But I'd tell everyone that I had period pains, which I didn't. Again, I didn't want to share that I had scars on my tummy. And then when we done PE, we had like really short shorts, and the scar on my leg used to just come past the shorts. And I used to spend the whole time, like, say for instance, rounders, pulling the shorts down, trying to cover the scar. Because I felt so uncomfortable. I just didn't want anyone to see that I had these scars.
And so you're talking about now we're into the late 70s.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the pain management from your carers, the physicians for that? Was there any?
Only to have more surgery and to have releases, zigzag surgery, skin grafts, laser. Well, laser didn't come until later, sort of like now it's happening. But back then it was a lot of zigzag surgery, they used to call it. It was like Z-shaped surgery, and it would like kind of, they'd open up and stitch, and then it would like release the scars. But the problem with that, with zigzag surgery, is that it could release a certain area, but then tighten somewhere else. So it was always a battle, like, as whether it was going to work or not. And most of the time, it didn't. The only time it worked was when they released my tummy, and I was so glad that it was released because it was hard struggling with that tightness. I felt sick all the time.
Yes. How dreadful.
Yeah, it was really
And
uncomfortable.
so if you weren't on a medication to help the pain,
Oh, no,
nothing like that.
not at all.
So I'm sure if
Yeah,
you look back that you were consumed, your education was really a subset to the fact that you were battling the pain of this terrible injury, but really without the pain management to help.
I loved school. I really did, and I loved my little group of friends. But what I struggled with was always battling in my head whether someone was going to come over and hug me or slap me. That friends
Yes.
in secondary school like that, and I always worried about that. So I'd always be a bit like this if someone's behind me. I always sat at the back of the class so that no one could pass around my back. I was always trying to safeguard my back.
How exhausting for you.
So exhausting, honestly. And then on top of that, I had like a absolute hate for the way that I looked. Like I was an extremely pretty young lady, beautiful long hair. And I'd go to the toilets and I'd see all of these girls brushing their hair, doing their makeup. And I used to put my head down, go in the toilet and rush out because I felt that if I was to look in the mirror, they'll tell me, what am I doing? I'm ugly. So I used to
How
do that.
sad.
Yeah, so I wouldn't like look in the mirror at all. I
And
wanted
who
to.
knew about this, right? So did
No
you so
one, me.
so questions about your friendship group, did they know about your injury?
No. Eventually, my bestest friend, she knew, but she didn't really know how bad, like the extent of it. But she knew that I had some form of scars. But
But
then,
no,
but then when you tell people that you've got scars, what you tend to get is they'll be rolling up their trouser leg and going, "Oh look, well I've got a scar here from when I fell over on the pavement. Then I've got this scar from when I had, and
yeah.
they start to show you their scars, and they're not burn scars; they're just scars. Like I'm not saying just scars because obviously, like that's not what I'm all
I
about.
understand
But
completely
basically,
because
yeah,
everyone wants to find the commonality with you, so they'll try and find the thing.
yeah,
And everyone's very good at talking about themselves, of course, it's a human trait.
yeah,
But
yeah.
here's you, even did you recognize at this point you had mental health struggles? Did you
No,
even know that's what you were going through?
no
No
idea.
idea, because you were what at this point, 12, 13,
Yeah,
14, maybe?
yeah. And then my dad put us into swimming. Like that was hard. That was really difficult. That's when I was bullied in swimming. Um,
Swimming club near your house.
Swimming club, yes. So my dad introduced me to this lovely lady. Her name was Brenda. I still know her today. She knows me very well. Like me
Wow.
and her are very close. And she took me to the YWCA at Tottenham Court Road. They had a swimming pool there, and it was just me and her, and it was really nice. And what she was trying to do was get me see how I could swim, see if I was ready for the swimming club because all my sisters swam at the swimming club in Bethnal Green. And she said, "Yeah, you're ready. Like you're a fantastic swimmer." And I was like, "Oh, amazing." But then I was like, "Shit!" Like, oh, sorry.
Fine.
I was like,
It's only ordinary normal people watching us being normal.
um, it was like, what the hell? Like, I don't know how this is gonna work. I don't really want to swim. And then my dad, he was a little bit pushy and bought us new swimming costumes. Oh God, open back costumes with
Yes.
crisscrosses, and that's not what I wanted. I'd rather like just be like up to here, like covered, you know, even my arms and legs, everything covered. No, he's putting me in these open back costumes. There you go. So I remember going home and saying to my mum, please, can you buy me a big, 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 big towel, please? And every time I went swimming, my sister used to hold the towel. So when I got out of the pool, she used to cover me with a towel.
How sweet.
Yeah, I just felt like I was doing this little acting role the whole time. And I'd go out on pool
Yeah,
day
the whole
once
time.
everyone had got in the pool. And as I'm walking round, I'll be looking up at the spectators, making sure they can't see my back. I mean, these are adults up there, but I still cared about whether they could see it or not.
But you were, I mean, tormented actually, and how just in itself you were exhausting yourself emotionally,
It's exhausting
constantly
thinking about it.
planning. Yes,
Is just
but
going over times.
I can see you in my head, right? Here's this young lady, this young woman thinking, right, before I walk down there,
Yeah, I have
I
to.
need to plan my route. I don't know how you did it.
I don't know, but it was the only way. I had to keep this secret to myself, and didn't want to share it with anybody. It was like, it's just, this is me and nobody needs to know, basically, until, like, obviously, like, there were times when the coach would pull us out on the side, and I used to try and hide under the water. He used to pull me out and say, get out. And then I could hear like the boys talking about me. Like one boy said that I was a witch in a before life and burned at the
So
stake.
cruel.
Yeah, really horrible. She's a lizard, like just horrible stuff. And then my sister Sheila turned around, she'd have a go at them, like, I'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna punch you." She always stuck up for me, which was really
Good
nice.
Sheila.
Yeah,
Turned out to be a really good swimmer.
yeah. I was a really good swimmer, but I held back, and I didn't want to be seen to be winning. Like I always like held back and allowed other
What?
people to, because
Because
I didn't want to be in my swimming costume up on the
yeah,
what do you call it? The
the
rush.
podium, the stand, the
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I didn't want to be up there because I used to see everyone in their swimming costumes, like standing up there getting their medals, and I was like, no, no, no. One day we was at Crystal Palace doing a big meet because my dad used to take us all around the country, and we used to swim like quite well. We used to have a professional teacher.
So to a great standard,
Yeah,
but
we were really good. And then one day we was at Crystal Palace and I said to my sister, please make sure you're standing at the end with the towel because there's so many people at Crystal Palace. It was a really big event. And obviously, like, I pulled back. I must have come fourth or something, like I just didn't want never to be in that one, two, or three. My dad couldn't understand it and he used to say, why is she winning and you're losing? And he used to say that I was lazy and all of these things. Yeah,
and he had no idea.
no idea. I couldn't really talk to my dad until later on in life, but it was hard to talk to him back then. Like he just thought, you're going to do this and you're going to be an Olympian. We were really at a high standard.
Yeah, I'm sure. But also, it's a different time because this must be now into the 80s.
Yeah, yeah,
And we're in a time where nobody talked about mental health. Nobody. Nobody was talking to you about the psychological damage.
yeah,
They were talking to you about your physical damage, but not
yeah.
the psychological damage.
No, 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 never.
So nobody knew.
No. So so did this swim at Crystal Palace, and I wanted to jump in because I just didn't want to be standing on the blocks and everyone staring at me. So I jumped in. I don't think my dad was impressed, and they disqualified me and was telling me to get that girl out of the water. I want to get out, and I want to get out. Where was Sheila? She wasn't around. I'm looking around everywhere. She's nowhere to be seen. They disqualified me for jumping in the water. Anyway, in the end, I got out and I ran all the way to the changing rooms and locked myself in a locker.
That's what's so terribly tragic because, I mean, really, how awful that you were in an environment where not only were you recovering from this physical disability,
Yeah,
managing to swim so well, but never allowing yourself to be the best you could be just in case.
yeah,
Always thinking about the just in case. What if this? What if that?
yeah.
And nobody talked to you about how you felt.
No, I was always fighting in my head with. It's like I had a little devil on my shoulder.
Yeah.
know, and it was very like negative, and everything was negative, and I had to, like you were saying, I had to plan everything out. I was like a young actress, you know, like
Yeah. Yeah, you're on stage.
in my own role, like, you know, it was my own play that I was doing, and it was like that in everything I did, in school life, swimming life, everything, you know, I was always acting. The only time I didn't have to act was when I was around my family, and that was really it. A lot of it was just, yeah, it
So
was,
you got through school and came out the other end,
yes,
and you're now talking about being 17
y- yeah,
at 18. So now you've grown a lot.
yeah, yeah,
And talk to us about the pain of those scars now, all these. So you've
yeah,
left school, wherever you went next, you're now almost an adult,
yeah.
almost fully grown at 18, right? Aren't we, as women? So
Hardest time.
your scars have
Yeah,
now grown with you.
yeah,
Talk to us about what that means for you at this point,
yeah.
physically.
So obviously, like that age is very like a tender age, because you get into relationships,
Yes.
and I guess like in my head, that's what I was thinking about at times. I just wanted to be loved. I wanted someone to love me, and because for so many years, I had my mum telling me that, oh, you're amazing, you're a survivor, you're an angel, you know, she'd give me all these positive words, and I loved
Yeah.
it. And I
Yeah.
really believed her, and I believed it. It wasn't until I hit secondary school, and that day when I had the towel pulled off me, it was like I had the rug pulled from underneath me.
Yeah.
And then nothing was like positive after that. It was a really difficult time.
Did your mum know how challenging things were for you?
Sometimes I think she might have. For example, when I said I needed the big towel, she knew why. And I'm sure that there were times when I said, I don't like these swimming costumes with the open back. Like, I do not want them, but my dad continued to buy them.
She knew, but perhaps she also wasn't equipped with, apart from to envelop you with love and tell you how amazing you were, she wasn't equipped to handle it.
No, I don't think so. I think my dad had, when it come to that side of things, he had control of that, the swimming side. She had control of like the motherly, cooking, loving, caring, you know, that side.
Yeah.
But like I said, he was quite hard when we were younger. And sometimes I was a little bit scared of him, but he was still my dad, you know. But I
Yeah,
found,
and he wanted you to be the best you could be, didn't he? That was his drive. But
yeah,
what he didn't probably understand, and it's not his fault, he didn't understand the trauma that was going on underneath.
he might have understood, because he definitely understood when he got older, and we all got older. He definitely understood, because me and him were best friends, like best
Yeah.
friends, which is amazing how we went from that to that. I remember going up to my friend's house one day, and she said, my cousin's here and he likes you and he's gonna ask you out. And I was like, what? Like me? Like, I just never thought of myself as being beautiful, or like, I just thought that I was ugly the whole time. Um,
Sad.
yeah, it was really sad, because I was a really beautiful young lady, and this boy, he took me. He said, "I'll walk you across the park," and I was like, "Okay." And then when we got to, as we was walking across the park, he said, "Would you go out with me?" And I think I said, "Yeah." And then when we got over to the other side of the park, he tried to kiss me, and I went, "No, get off."
How old were you now?
Away. I ran away. I was probably about 17, 16.
Oh, when you ran away.
I ran away, yeah. And I got in trouble because I'd been out late. My dad and all my sisters and my mum were looking for me.
Doubly bad.
Yeah, home. I continued having a relationship with him, but it was, any relationship after that was very, it was like they were lucky to get a kiss. Honestly, it was, because I didn't want them to put their hands on me,
Yes.
feeling around, you know. And then I had a friend, we used to go to clubs. She started to introduce me to clubs like 19, 20. You know, like when you start dancing with a guy and they start rubbing their hands on your
Yeah.
back. Oh, that was awful for me.
Torture.
Yeah, and they'd say things in my ear like, "Oh, you've got a basque on, a corset, all nice." Like, and I'll be like, "Oh, go away.
Yeah, go away.
It's horrible. Get
But
out."
what a terrible thing for a young woman to be going through. And you're having to cope with all of these things as
Yeah,
well as trying, because at 18, 19, 20, there's so much still to work out, isn't there?
yeah,
What's your path in life? Where are you going? You know, who's the kind of person you want to be with? What are you trying to achieve? Your path was completely masked by handling your physical self
yeah,
and your mental anguish.
yeah. And all I wanted was to be loved, like to be
Yes.
for me as a person that I was, and for my scars. But I still wasn't accepting my scars. It was just about me being loved, and I
Yeah.
wasn't really receiving that. Obviously, I was receiving it from my family, but I wanted it from a partner.
So you wanted them to accept you for something that you weren't letting them see and
Yeah,
wouldn't let them see.
yeah.
So
Well,
that's so conflicting, isn't it?
yeah, it is. And sometimes it meant sitting down and explaining to them that I have scars. Whether you want to accept me or not, it's up to you. If you want to leave now, you can. And sometimes they'd get up and walk out.
Lovely.
Yeah.
What good, upstanding citizens and human beings they were.
I know. But
Awful.
then I met my partner who I'm with today, and he accepted my scars, and he was like, "I don't mind. Let me have a look. It doesn't bother me. You're beautiful."
How lovely.
And it was just so nice to find someone who accepted me and my scars.
As you.
Yeah, as me. Yeah. And kind of like moving on from there, I really wanted to have a child as well. But that wasn't until I hit 23 that I actually had my first child with him. But prior to that, I was drinking heavily. And it was just to take away all the pain and the hurt.
Was that physical pain or emotional pain or both?
Both. Because I just didn't know who the hell I was. At that
No.
point, I was working in a special needs school with children. I was working, teaching swimming to children. I couldn't work, I couldn't be around adults. I just found children so much easier to be
Yeah.
around. And the elderly, I'd always like go to the shop and get their newspapers and things. So I was really like nice to the people around me. My friend who lived on the third floor, she said to me, "I did not know what was going on. You seem to be like the nicest, happiest person that I ever see." And I said, "I know." I said, "Because I hid it all. That's why." Like I'd go into my bedroom and cry all night long, like every night. And nobody knew that's what.
No. And then there was no chance of psychological help. No one talked to you about your mental health, or did
Yeah.
they?
Well, I did eventually. I spoke to my GP. She was so nice, and she said to me, "I think you need some help. We'll get you some like psychological help." And I met with two women. They didn't really know about burns and stuff like that, and it was difficult because what they were talking to me about didn't really seem to sort of like go,
Resonate.
yeah, with what I was feeling. So it didn't last long. I walked away from it, and I just ended up struggling in my own way.
And you're now in your late teens at this point, early 20s,
Yeah,
just before you met your partner.
we were friends, and yeah, and my daughter was born when I was 23, and it was so weird because I wanted to have a child, um, for love, to love
Yeah.
me, and for me to love them, and for me to be happy. But I can promise you, and anyone out there, whoever thinks that a child is going to make them happy and take away any pain that they're going through, the likelihood is that ain't going to work. You still need to get help. Like, you still need to deal with your mental health, because it's not going to happen. And I really believed it would. Had my daughter, the love that I have for my children is unreal, and what they have for me is unreal. But it did not take away that pain, and I was like,
No.
would, and it wasn't.
No, and interestingly, you know that I also have a coaching business, and one of the people I was coaching had her own, let's say, mental health struggles.
Yeah.
And she truly believed that if she could have a child,
Hmm.
all those issues in her life would go away. And I remember having a long conversation with her saying, actually, your responsibility as a potential mother is to manage those challenges first.
Yeah.
And because it's not your child's job to fix you.
Hmm.
But you didn't know that. There was no one having that discussion with you. And I can completely see why wouldn't you think that? Because this child will love you whoever you are.
Yeah.
And the relationship we both have with our children is wonderful. And
Mm.
we're so grateful for it, aren't we? Both of us. But whereas a young mother, going through all of the things that you go through when you have a baby, and it's hard. It's hard work having a baby. And here you were doing it as well as coping with all of your own issues.
Yeah. Yeah. Life went downhill for me, and I
Yeah.
expect it to. I was still drinking. To be fair, like, I did give up the alcohol when I found out I was pregnant, and I gave up smoking as well because I was smoking at the time. But then when my daughter was born, I went back drinking again. Not immediately, but when she was probably about 2 or 3, I was drinking and hiding bottles of drink, which wasn't fair on her. It wasn't fair on anyone. And
How did you tackle that? How did you come to terms with the fact that you were probably bordering on alcoholism? When you're hiding bottles, you know that you're drinking too much.
I don't know. I used to involve my daughter and say, not involve her, give her a drink, but I used to say to her, don't tell daddy,
Yeah.
like, go and hide this bottle. I used to get her involved. It was so bad. Like, and that's just not me. Like, I'm not
No.
that mother. Like, honestly, and I don't think, I think most of us would say the same thing, but when you're really, really struggling with who you are, and you do turn to drugs or alcohol. I wasn't taking drugs, but I was drinking quite a lot. You can't mend what's going on. It just keeps manifesting.
It's a mask, isn't it? You're constantly trying to bury it.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, I had such low self-esteem. I used to walk around with, like, looking down at the floor. I wouldn't look up. And I used to hear people say, smile, love, come on, give us a smile, beautiful girl, like like
That
things.
make you feel angry.
I used to be so angry. I was such an angry person. I was angry with my family. I wasn't angry with my family because of what happened to me. I was just angry with them. I don't even know why. Like, even when I speak to my psychologist, I say, I don't even know why. And she always says to me, well, what you've been through, like, you know, my mum was kind of like going back, and even now, she's always given me stuff. Like, she's always spoilt me. So I was always the spoilt child. And it didn't help with my other siblings, because even though me and Sheila have a good relationship, I do sometimes feel like Sheila and the others, like, they do maybe hate me a little bit or dislike me because I was that spoilt child, and they call me spoilt. And that really hurts, because it wasn't my fault
No.
that I was spoiled. It wasn't my fault. Something happened to me, something bad. I didn't make that happen to me, and I'd struggled all my life, and they didn't know how much I struggled. So much so that my mental health was so badly affected that I started to have suicidal thoughts. And that was like when I hit rock bottom. It was bad, and
And
the family didn't
who
know.
did who did you have around you to
Well, I
even
had my partner, but he wasn't always around. Like, me and him were like on and off, and he used to be off with his friends, and he had his own flat as well. So we lived separately, which we have most of the time. And so I used to do things like write little notes And to my daughter, she must have been about 10 at the time, my eldest, and then the other one would have been 5, and my son wasn't born. And I used to write notes and put them under our pillow to say, Mummy won't be here no more. And it was just really like
So
sad.
desperately sad.
Yeah,
And the fact that you didn't have help.
no. And because I used to think about what I was going to do, I was going to take the old bottle of tablets. I lived on the 6th floor. I thought about jumping off the balcony. It's really, really desperate.
Desperate.
And then there were moments where, like, I'd wake up the next morning, because obviously I'd been drinking as well when I'm writing these notes, really sad notes, putting it under a pillow. Then next morning I'd get up before she see it, and so she never
Yeah.
see the notes, and I'd just rip them up and throw them away. But I did a lot of crying, a lot of reaching out to my family. I'd phone them, and they didn't know that I was under the alcohol. They say that they didn't know, but I could go from like 0 to 100 like that, be really nice, and then be really nasty.
Yeah. And so something else that strikes me that we should talk about is when something so profound like this happens in a family,
Yeah,
something that is life changing for you, it also has a knock on effect to the rest of the family. So relationships have to shift and change to encompass this new you household, the you that comes out of hospital at, say, 3, but not quite the same you that left at 2.5.
yeah, yeah,
And so the family had to shift and change,
yeah.
but we weren't in a world
Mm.
where anyone talked about. So the most thing that could happen is that everyone could talk about your physical injury because that's easy. You can see that.
Yeah, yeah.
Although for you,
Mm.
it was hidden,
It was
but
hidden.
they knew it was there. But nobody was equipped to deal with
No,
the trauma that had happened to you inside. And here you were as a young mum going through all of the challenges of being a young mum anyway,
yeah,
battling your own demons.
yeah, and
Did
it was,
anyone, how
yeah,
did you get through that? There will be people listening and watching this who will really resonate with this.
yeah.
How did you, first and foremost, we'll put up links after at the end of this program to point people towards help. But first and foremost, how did you get through that really dark time?
I think what got me through it was the love of my children, the love of my family, knowing that they've always been there to support me, and knowing that I don't want to leave these children without a mother. So it's important that I don't make these rash decisions anymore. And I think that's what really got me through, was just the love of.
That's incredibly strong on your behalf. That shows extreme strength of character. Because for me, as your friend, someone who I've got to know, you're a beautiful person, both inside and out. But you didn't know that.
No,
And no one could tell you that because you weren't even hearing them.
I wasn't hearing them. Well, they could tell me, but I wouldn't believe it.
No.
I was like, if you'd seen me when a camera come out to take a picture, I'm not photogenic. I'm not gonna be in the picture. If someone says to me, "Oh, you look lovely in that dress," no, I don't. I look terrible. So I was always putting myself down, really, really putting myself down, and I never thought of myself as, like I said, as being beautiful. I see everyone around me as beautiful, regardless of how they looked, regardless of whether they had a scar on their face or, I see everyone, everything in the world, everything around me was beautiful, but I was the ugly one. I was the only ugly thing on this planet. And that was hard.
Just dreadful. Just dreadful. And I met you as the person who'd come through that,
Yeah.
to not the physical, because I know and I see that you struggle with the physical every day still.
Yeah.
But I met you when you'd already come to the other side and become a body equality activist, but
Yeah.
also to set up your own agency called Love Disfigure. I mean, to get from those dark, dark times,
Yeah.
that you should feel very proud of yourself for having the strength of character to
Yeah.
get through that,
Yeah.
to come through that, the mud of that world that you were in, that you couldn't see anything in yourself that was attractive, beautiful, nothing good about it, to come out
Yeah.
and recognize that actually you're a warrior, you're a survivor,
Yeah.
and you set up Love Disfigure. Tell us about that journey from those dark times to
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
actually, I need to use this to help other people.
Yeah. I mean, so this was only, we're going back 8 years. 8 years. Imagine I'm now in my 50s. I won't say my age.
Yeah, well, neither of us need to talk about that, do we?
But going back 8 years was when I had my turning point. And
Only 8 years ago.
only 8 years ago. So I've spent my whole life, all the way through my 40s, hating me, hating
20,
my body, all the way through
40s.
the whole of my life. Yeah, the whole of my life. And I think it got to the point where there were other things, like if I go on a holiday with my mum, I would, for example, there's sunbeds around the pool. I'd always go straight to the back. Everything was always away from everyone. Let's go over there. I don't want anyone to be behind me. I don't want anyone to see this. I remember I was like queuing up somewhere, I think shopping or something, and I had a dress like this on, and it just showed some of the scars at the top of my back because they're quite high. And this woman stood behind me and her son, and she said to her son, "Oh, that woman, she's a burn survivor. She would have got burnt in fire, and yes, she's a survivor of burns." And I don't know if she knew another person that had been burnt, but she seemed to she was talking about me, and I was right there in front of her, and I felt so uncomfortable. Like,
Yes.
should I turn around and say, "Excuse me"? But I just didn't have the strength to. Imagine
No.
someone could stand behind me and talk about me, and I couldn't do nothing about it. So yeah, so going back, like whenever we was on holiday, I made sure that I was always covered up. I spent, like, every time we went on holiday when we were younger, I was always covered up because I had to be creamed, like creamed quite a lot. Even now, my scars have to be creamed regularly because they flake and dry out.
And what about sun damage? So like you can't expose the scars to the sun, right?
I do these days, but that's another story. I was always used to being covered up on the beach. So whenever, as I got older, I was still carrying that on. And in my head, I'd be like, right, mum, we have to go here. Right. And she'd go, yeah, I know, I know. But she used to even talk to me and say, look, it's not that bad. Not saying that my scars are not that bad, but what's going on around, people are not gonna, don't worry, like people are not gonna be staring at you and all of those things. And then I remember, like, on this particular holiday where I had my turning point, we were sat around the pool, and this guy was behind me, and I turned around and he had his phone like that, and I'd dropped this sarong down. I had it right up over my shoulders like Superwoman. I pulled it down, and I was like, "Oh God, he's filming me!" So I pulled it up, and then he got up and walked off with his wife. I was so angry. I was cursing this man. It was terrible for my poor mum listening to me curse this man and say, he's effing filming me. He's effing going to put me on social media. He's going to put me on YouTube. I'm going to be the ugliest fucking burned woman, like, in the whole world, like, because I didn't know anyone else online or on social media. I didn't have a friend that had scars, so all I knew was me. Even though I'd seen those other children back then and adults with scars on their faces and bandages, my mum went, "Oh, come on, we'll go down to the beach." So we got down to the beach, and she said, "Look, let's sit right back from everyone." We were right to the back. It was a big beach, and everyone was sat right down the front. There was loads of, like, sun loungers. And I had my son there, and he was quite young. I think he must have been about 8, 9. So he was always swimming in the pool. And my mum said to me, "As your scars, do they hurt? Can I have a look? Can I feel them? Can I touch them?" And so she went, "Do they hurt?" And I went, "No." So it's clearly at this time in her life, she's still struggling herself,
Yes.
which I actually was online, and I found out that my family, even my sisters, might have been struggling like PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. So anyway, all of that was in my head. I was thinking, "Oh, my poor mum, she's struggling." So now I'm thinking about her and not myself. I'm thinking about her. And I've got this bikini on. I never wear a bikini, but I had this sarong and it was tied up. And I said to her, "Do you want to walk down to the beach and we go and put our feet in the water together?" And she was like, "No, I'll stay here." So I said to her, "Okay then." So I start walking down, and then I get like halfway down and I turn around and she's like sat like this.
Yeah, no, listen, I'll talk here whilst you recover, because I understand the trauma,
You know
because
what?
here's you.
Just the hardest time, that point, because it was the turning point. And
Yeah,
I just feel like, because I have so much love for my mum and seeing her, the pain that she was
pain
through, and I think that is really what made me have that turning point on the beach. And
at that low point of, and it's like I said before, the knock-on effect for your family
yeah,
was also different levels of trauma for them.
yeah,
Seeing you go through so much pain, it
yeah,
shifted and changed the family. And I think when we see pain in our parents' eyes,
yeah.
it's a devastating thing, isn't it? Because we never want to cause them pain.
No, no, and especially knowing as that she did so much for me, like growing up,
Yeah.
always there supporting me. Yeah, so I
This
continued.
was the turning point.
Yeah, so this was the day that I had the turning point, and I continued down to the water's edge. And
Good.
when I got down, I turned around to face everyone. I don't know what was going through my head, and I could still see my mum. And then she looked up at me, and then like I waved to her, and I was like, kind of like mouthing like, "Mum, look at me," and I just took the sarong off.
Wow. This is a really defining moment.
Yeah, because everyone, and I promise you, like I know this sounds like this isn't real, but people were looking at me. They were sat up looking at me. I don't know if they're looking at me like, "What is she doing?" Like taking her sarong off. Like I just felt like this is my stage, this is my body, I'm accepting me. This is me, and I don't care what anyone thinks. You can all look now. I've had enough. I've had
Yeah.
enough of people filming me. I've had enough of sitting at the back. I'm not doing this no more, and I'm not hurting my mother. And so I kind of like walked back
Amazing.
and just
They
like,
were probably all going, "Oh my God, look at her," showing off.
yeah. And then put my hand on my mum's shoulder and was just like, "Are you okay, mum?" And I said, "From now on, we're going to have a great holiday, and I'm not going to complain anymore. We're going to have a lot of fun." And we did. We had a great holiday after that.
Great.
And then I come back and set up Love Disfigure with the help of my cousin. And we shared a video online, which is still on YouTube, so people can go and watch it if they want.
Well, we'll
It's
put the links on so
quite
people can
typical.
watch it.
Yeah, yeah. It was a really difficult time doing that video because I'd never spoken to anyone, but I was being interviewed and sharing, turning, and showing my scars. All of that kind of was a bit triggering as well because obviously that's what I used to do on the bed with the
Yeah.
nurses and doctors. But I was now doing it, to go, "Guys, I'm here to support you. Anyone else that's struggling like I have been all those bloody years, like I've struggled, and I'm not going to struggle no more. And I want to
Not
help."
just years, decades. decades you struggled.
Decades of it. Decades.
And because I suppose the thing that I didn't really appreciate, so we met quite a few years ago now,
Yeah.
like just post pandemic,
Yes.
and I didn't appreciate the timeline in my head that in actual fact you'd
Yeah.
only really come out 3 years before that, 3 or 4 years before that. This is really, really recent. And what I'd like to say as someone who looks from outside is that you are simply remarkable because you have blazed the trail of taking down the barriers, because lots of people don't know how to behave or what to say
Yeah.
or how to cope with it. And you blazed that trail of saying, look, we are what we are. We're no different to you.
Yeah.
We happen to be coping with these things.
Mm.
Stop looking at us differently because we're the same. And we are appreciate the pain that we're going through, because I know that. I know as your friend that you are still in pain, that you still struggle to deal with it, as do many of the people that you work with.
Yeah.
But your agency, Love Disfigure, has worked with television and magazines, right? You've managed to place people
Yeah.
to really start breaking down the barriers of, as you would call it, as the body,
Yeah.
of body equality,
Yeah. Diversity, inclusion.
diversity.
Fashion Week we did.
Wow. And can people find all of these things on your Instagram?
Yeah, yeah, they can. So I've got two Instagram pages. I've got Love Disfigure, which is the one about where I share my scars and other people's stories, and then the other one is Love Disfigure Talent Agency, which is obviously, if anyone's interested, there is a website out there as well where they can contact, and I'll send them an application form.
Great. I think we have the links, but we will make sure to everyone watching or listening to this that the links will be in the information piece below,
Yeah.
because you need to go and have a look. And for anybody watching who's in TV, cinema, media, please contact Sylvia. She has got some amazing people on her books. And the other exciting thing, well, there are many exciting things, not only this outstanding talent agency, but you are soon to launch your own podcast.
I am.
And tell us a little bit. It's coming, isn't it? And it's
Yes.
going to be talking to people who have been through experiences,
Yeah.
and to bring it to life, to open the world to things like talking to you. This
Yeah.
is your time, your story. It's for people to see you, the real you. That's what I set out to do with my podcast, to
Yeah.
have a podcast that is about you,
Yeah.
not the social expectation, not what people think they should be watching, but
Yeah.
you. Your
Yeah.
podcast is going to work with people or talk to people who have got stories that perhaps are similar to yours.
Yes, and again to continue raising awareness, because obviously like I'm getting older and I can't keep going out campaigning in my underwear and bikinis
Yes,
outside.
you can. Yes, you really can.
But,
Yeah, you got a long time left yet.
yeah, I just feel like this is just another route to show people that we are great, we are beautiful, we can do these things too. We don't want to hide away anymore like we have been for so many years.
Right.
Because it's not just me, there are other people that have been hiding, so to speak,
Oh,
and
I'm sure.
now like you can see like on social media is now widened, where there are a lot of people with disabilities and disfigurements and differences that are now out there saying this is me and I love who I am, and so I think it's really important to keep sharing those stories and letting people understand what we actually go through,
Yes.
and not just hearing on the TV that oh, look what this person's got. Yeah, it's a horrible thing. We want to share the in depth, the real positive stuff, and not just about when they're hospitalised and what they've gone through. Like we want to also bring out like the positive, the good stuff that they've done and they're
Of
doing.
course. And I think that you're doing that in spades. And let's hope that this podcast reaches, if it reaches just one person who
Yeah,
hears your story, that comes out of, because there will be many people, as you know,
yeah,
who are in that same dark place that you were.
Yeah.
And if we can just make the difference in one life, I think that's the way you and I both feel, isn't it? If we
Oh,
can
yeah.
just
100%.
impact one person,
Yeah.
we'll be happy.
Yeah.
The more that we can help, we will be happy.
Yeah.
I think that this moment is not to talk about what I've been through, but the consequences are the same. That I want to make sure other people have a voice that is uncluttered by someone else's preconceived ideas and perhaps misinformation, because people will look at you, like I said, and say, what's she going on about? She looks great. And it's important that people understand that things aren't always great, that it is really difficult, that you live with extensive pain
Yeah.
and constant surgery. And I see what you do,
And today
stretching, trying to scratch out your scars, rubbing oils in, trying all the time to make it better. People should understand that and have some empathy. But
yeah.
also, you want to show them that you're happy living a great life and making a difference.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, podcast,
Yeah.
and you are writing a book. Talk to us about your book.
So the book is really about what we've been speaking about, just because I feel like sometimes on social media, especially, people just know me for campaigning and they don't really know like the real story. And there's so much more to what we've just like touched a little on a bit of it, but there's so much more to my story. Um, and it does actually get worse. And I think the book will help people that are going through all types of things, who are struggling with their mental health. So hopefully, like, the book will help. Be a bit of.
Well, what I'd really like to do is, once you've pushed that on a little bit further, let's have you back on again.
Yeah.
Because now that we've sown the seed of the story in its sort of top level form,
Yeah.
it would be really great to talk again when I've seen the outline to the book. It's fascinating. I'm telling you all that you will want to read this book. Keep an eye on Sylvia's work, because it's coming and it's going to be amazing. So once you've got a more in-depth outline and maybe the first chapters,
Yes.
let's get you back on again, because I would love to understand the deeper depths of what you went through,
Yes.
which we haven't got time for today, but I would love to tell it. I think people would love to hear it.
Yeah.
And I think that we will reach many people
Yeah.
who you could help significantly. When you think about your life and where you are today, because I met the Sylvia who looked all together to me. We met at a Women of the Year alumni event,
Yes. Yeah.
and we were drawn to each other,
Mm.
but because we both knew, I suppose.
Yeah.
I truly believe in the magnetism and aura of people. We
Yeah.
were drawn together,
Yeah.
and we had an amazing conversation then and have continued to do so. But I met the Sylvia who had come past that darkest point.
Yeah.
And I would really like to know more about your journey and the struggles and the depths of those struggles,
Yeah.
not reason other than to truly understand it and to try and help other people to pick through and understand their own problems.
Yeah.
And I think you have so much that you can do and say to help other people.
Yeah.
And if we here at More Moments can help in any way to get those messages out, we'd love to.
Yeah.
And to also promote to talk about the talent agency. Go and have a look at Sylvia, have a look at the incredible work she's doing. Get ready for the podcast, get ready for the book. She's coming, and you're certainly not too old to be parading around at all.
No.
It's a new world.
Exactly.
Listen, I didn't think my father was old when he moved in here at 87. So when people say they're old in their 50s, I'm like, don't be ridiculous.
No.
Of
No.
course you're not. Of course you're not.
You know
So
what?
I would
Sometimes
go
my
on.
body just lets me down, that's all, with the pain and everything. And then I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh, it's hard to do all of those things that I used to do. But I know that I can do
you
them,
can.
and I'm sure that I will. I'm sure I'm going to go back out there and do something very soon. Watch your space. You can join.
Yeah.
Come and join
But
us.
you will. You need good people around you, which I know that you have, and is so maybe you can't do things at the pace that you did, but you can still do them.
Yeah,
It's just managing what you've got,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
can do it.
yeah,
You're sensational, and you are someone that I hold in high esteem. So keep doing what you're doing. For people who have listened or watched, and typically with podcasts, people will pick them up and put them down, listen to a bit, do something else. For those of you who've reached the very end of this, thank you. And for those of you who might be picking up now, please go back to the beginning. But I would like for you to leave our listeners with a nugget of a life lesson from Sylvia Mac. Can you tell people today what your biggest piece of advice would be as a positive life lesson?
yeah. I from what I've been through and come out at the other end, I'd say talk to somebody about how you're feeling, because we keep it bottled up in here and in here, and we talk to ourselves in our heads, but we need to really let it out. And you need to just find someone, and if you can't find someone, speak to a GP. They'll put you in contact with a psychologist. Even today I'm still speaking with a psychologist, and yeah, they help me loads. Like, I get to cry, laugh, and have fun at the same time, and walk away feeling so much better. Talk, your mental health is so important to have like good well-being, um and just do wonderful things that make you happy, like laugh, go for a lovely walk, read a book, light some candles. Like, self-care is so important. But yeah, just remember to talk to someone.
Thank you. That's a great piece of advice because I think, thank goodness, we're so much more aware of mental health. And there's no doubt over the years and some of the things that I've been through that trying to find that strength, that inner strength, is sometimes a challenge. You do need to be able to talk to other people. And you had such trauma that had been just festering for years. I'm so pleased that you've now found someone who can really help you through some of that pain, because it means that you can go on to help other people, which is great. But great advice from Sylvia to talk to someone. If you don't know how to do that, go to your GP, as Sylvia said, and we will leave links. Perhaps, Sylvia, you can help us with the right links to put on that will steer people into the right places. And before we go, is there anything else you think you should have said, that you would like to share?
Anything is possible. You can change the path of your life, like your life story. You can change that path. You're not always going to be stuck in you know, that bubble of negativeness. You can become positive, and just know that you can change that path, your path of life. You can change it to whatever you want it to be. And just don't be afraid. Just go for it.
And you've done it. And you're right. Like, your story isn't written yet. Our stories aren't complete,
No.
and we're in charge of them. I think the biggest thing that I can see from talking to you is that remember that we're responsible for our own happiness.
Mm.
Don't look to other people to make you happy. You have to find happiness here, don't you?
Yeah.
Here first. And then you're on the right path.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility, and we must be responsible for our mental health. And now at least there are doors open to you. There weren't for you for decades. For decades no one listened. But you saw it in the end. You saw that you needed help and you sought it out. So huge accolades to you.
Yeah.
And to anyone listening, take the step. Do it, do it, do it. Your life will be better for
Yeah.
seeking out someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Won't it? Sylvia, you agree?
100%. You could talk to me if you need someone to talk to. I'm always available.
Socials.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chat to me here,
100%.
because I think you can help people enormously.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Um, it's been amazing. We've been planning this for a long time.
It's been lovely chatting with you.
I've loved it. I knew it would be great, and I knew I'd have tons of questions. Like, I wrote down things, but I didn't even need to look at them because I kept thinking of another thing I wanted to ask you. And I can't believe that I haven't asked you them before, but it just shows you that when you dedicate time to a topic,
Yeah.
you can really find out a lot. Where you keep being you.
Yeah.
Your story isn't written yet.
That's right.
There's so much more that you're going to achieve. If anything we've spoken about today has affected you, support details are on the screen now. Thank you for being here, for pressing play, and for sharing this space with me today. I created more moments to remind us that amidst all the noise, there is still room for real stories, honest conversations, and reflections that matter. If today sparked something in you, a thought, a question, or just a pause, I hope you carry that with you. Remember, your story isn't finished yet. Be as kind to yourself as you are with others. Don't forget, no one is you, and that is your power. Until next time, with love, if you're ready for more, the next episode is waiting for you right here.